You are listening to Velvet Audio Stories. Boost your IQ.
Chapter 1. A Promise in the Rain. Don't cry anymore. Her voice cut through the downpour like a small flicker of light in the dark. Adrian didn't remember exactly how that day began, but he remembered the end vividly. He was lying on the cold concrete, rain lashing against his face, the metallic tang of blood filling his mouth. He thought he was going to die. October rain in this city was always biting, cold enough to pierce right through skin and bone. The 10-year-old boy lay curled in a ball in the alleyway behind an old bar. Shirt torn, lips cracked, blood seeping from the corner of his mouth. An hour ago, his father had beaten him. It wasn't the first time, but it was the worst. Useless brat, the man had spat. Then he threw him out. The door slammed shut, locked tight. Adrian had pounded on the wood. He had begged, but no one opened it. So he walked away. He didn't know where he was going. He just knew he had to get away from that house. The rain started just as he reached the alley. At first, it was only a few drops. Then, the entire sky collapsed. Adrian sat propped against a cold brick wall. He trembled, not just from the chill, but from hunger. He hadn't eaten in 2 days. He tried to stand, but his legs refused to obey. He collapsed. His head hit the concrete. Everything spun. The world grew quiet. He thought, maybe, this is okay. If he died here, at least he wouldn't have to go back. Hey! A voice drifted over him. Adrian thought he was imagining it. But then, someone shook his shoulder. Can you hear me? He opened his eyes. The rain blurred his vision, but a face appeared before him. A girl. Not very old, maybe 15 or 16. Blonde hair clung to her cheeks. Her eyes were blue, piercingly bright. You're hurt, she said. Adrian tried to speak, but his throat was parched. The girl frowned. Wait here. She ran off. Adrian figured she wouldn't come back. People always left. But a few minutes later, she returned carrying a paper bag and a bottle of water. She sat down beside him. Drink this. She held out the bottle. Adrian stared at it for a few seconds, as if unsure it was real. She sighed. Oh, for heaven's sake. She twisted the cap off and pressed it to his lips. Come on. Adrian drank. The cold water slid down his throat. It felt like heaven. Afterward, she handed him a piece of bread. He ate like he had never tasted food before. The girl watched him, her expression softening. How old are you? Adrian swallowed. 10. God. She looked at the bruises on his face. Who did this to you? Adrian stayed silent. She understood instantly. Your father? He nodded. Once. Very slightly. She let out a long breath. Grown-ups are the worst. The rain continued to fall, but Adrian didn't feel as cold as before. The girl took a tissue and wiped the blood from his lip. Hold still, she said. I'm no doctor, but I'm okay at this. Adrian looked at her. For the first time, he realized she was beautiful. Not like a model on TV, but the kind of person who made a room feel brighter. What's your name? She asked. Adrian. Adrian what? Knight. She nodded. Sounds like a knight in shining armor. Adrian gave a weak smile. Not really. It does, she insisted. Even knights have to start somewhere. Adrian looked up at her. What about you? Lena. She smiled. Lena Carter. They sat there together in the alley, under the rain, for a long time. Do you have anywhere to go? Lena asked. Adrian shook his head. Friends? No. Other family? No. She bit her lip, clearly thinking. Finally, she sighed. I wish I could take you home. Adrian watched her. But my mom would kill me. She shrugged. She thinks I can't even handle a cat. Adrian laughed. Lena checked her watch. Oh no. What? I have to go. She stood up. Adrian felt a strange surge of fear. She was leaving, too. Just like everyone else. But Lena didn't walk away immediately. She unfastened a small bracelet, a simple leather cord with a tiny metal tag. She placed it in Adrian's hand. Keep this. Adrian stared at the bracelet. Why? So you remember. Remember what? She smiled. Remember that there's at least one person in this world who thinks you're worth living for. Adrian didn't know what to say. Lena turned to go, then paused. She looked back at him. Listen, Adrian Knight, she said. If you ever become rich one day. Adrian frowned. Why would I be rich? Just humoring me. She laughed. If you're rich, find me. Adrian looked at her. To do what? Lena shrugged. To buy me dinner. You bought me bread. Exactly. So you owe me. Adrian looked at the bracelet in his palm. then back at her. One day, he said, "I'll find you." Lena tilted her head. "Really?" Adrian nodded. "Really?" She smiled, a smile that seemed to make the rain fall lighter. "All right then, I'll be waiting." Then she ran off, her silhouette disappearing into the curtain of rain. Adrian sat alone in the alley. But for the first time in his life, he didn't feel completely alone. He gripped the bracelet tight and whispered to himself, one day I'll find you." 15 years later, the boy in the rain had become a man. His name appeared on the covers of magazines. Adrian Knight, tech billionaire, one of the most powerful men in the city. But in his wallet, he still kept an old bracelet. And a promise he had never forgotten. Until one night, in a luxury hotel, a drunken woman opened the wrong door and walked back into his life. Chapter 2. The Man WHO Never Forgot. 15 years later, Adrian Knight stood before the floor-to-ceiling windows of his 80th floor office. The city stretched out beneath him like an ocean of light. Towering skyscrapers, teeming streets, cars that looked like tiny toys. It all belonged to the world he had conquered. But Adrian didn't see the city. He saw only a rainstorm, a dark alleyway, and a blonde girl with blue eyes that shone like beacons in the night. "Sir?" His assistant's voice sounded behind him. Adrian turned slowly. Claire, his private secretary, stood by his desk holding a file. "The board meeting starts in 10 minutes. Adrian nodded. "Postpone it." Claire's brow furrowed. "Sir, they flew in from New York just for." "Postpone." His voice was low and final. Claire let out a soft sigh. "Yes, sir." She made a note on her tablet, then hesitated for a second. "You're still keeping it, aren't you?" Adrian followed her gaze to the leather wallet on the desk. Claire had worked for him for 6 years. She knew exactly what was inside. Adrian opened the wallet. A weathered bracelet sat there. The leather cord had faded over time. The small metal tag still bore a single engraved letter. Claire shook her head. "You're a billionaire. You could buy the whole world." Adrian picked up the bracelet. "But you can't buy the past." Claire watched him for a few seconds before asking the question she'd always wanted to ask. "Do you think she even remembers?" Adrian didn't answer immediately. He just stared at the bracelet. Then, he spoke in a voice barely above a whisper. "It's enough that I do." That night, the Aurelia Hotel, one of the most opulent hotels in the city. The 45th floor penthouse. Adrian entered the room. He shed his coat and tossed his car keys onto the table. It had been a long day. Too long. 3 meetings. 2 contracts. An interview. And hundreds of people trying to claw something away from him. Money, power, influence. Adrian poured a glass of whiskey and took a sip. The city lights bled through the massive glass panes. He stood there for a few minutes in silence. Until, click, the sound of a lock turning echoed. Adrian frowned. He hadn't called for service. The door swung open. A girl walked in. Long blonde hair. A light coat. Her face was slightly flushed, as if she'd been drinking. She closed the door, leaned back against it, and let out a long breath. "Finally made it," she muttered. Adrian set his whiskey down and turned around slowly. The girl hadn't noticed him yet. She was busy kicking off her heels. "If I have to listen to one more presentation tonight," she shook her head, "I'm going to lose my mind." Adrian crossed his arms. "Is that so?" The girl froze. She slowly lifted her head. Their eyes met. 1 second. 2. 3. "Oh," she said. "Damn it." Adrian arched an eyebrow. Interesting reaction. She glanced around the room, then back at him. "This isn't my room, clearly." She rubbed her forehead. "My friend said room 4512. Adrian glanced at the number on the door. "This is 4511. She sighed. "So I'm in the wrong place." Adrian raised his glass. "It would seem so." She looked at him more closely now. Black dress shirt. A suit jacket draped over a chair. A tall, imposing frame. Eyes like ice. "Who are you?" Adrian shrugged. "The person who belongs in this room." She let out a short laugh. "Fair point." She walked over to the table and grabbed a bottle of water, taking a swig. "Sorry," she said. "I've had a hell of a day." Adrian leaned against the desk. "What kind of hell?" She looked at him. "If I told you, you'd laugh." "Try me." She thought for a few seconds, then said, "My client wants me to redesign his entire hotel. Every square inch." Adrian tilted his head. "Doesn't sound so bad." He also wants it done in 2 weeks. Okay, that's bad. She nodded. Exactly. A stretch of silence followed. Adrian watched her. There was something familiar. Not necessarily her face, but the way she spoke. The way she looked at the world. What are you staring at? She asked. Adrian shook his head. Nothing. She set the water bottle down. Anyway, sorry for the intrusion. She turned toward the door, then stopped. Wait. She looked back. Do you have any whiskey? Adrian pointed to the glass on the table. That one's mine. You have the bottle. Adrian gave a faint smile. Do you usually drink whiskey with strangers? She shrugged. Only when I walk into the wrong room. Adrian poured another glass and handed it to her. Lena, she said. Adrian stiffened. The whiskey glass stopped midair. Excuse me? Lena, she repeated. That's my name. Adrian felt his heart hammer against his ribs. A name. A memory. A rainstorm. He handed her the glass. Adrian, he said. Adrian Knight. She raised an eyebrow. Sounds familiar. Adrian shrugged. Maybe. She took a sip and winced. Good God. This stuff is strong. Adrian chuckled. You asked for it. She looked at him for a long time. You know, you don't look like the billionaires on TV. Adrian smirked. You think I'm a billionaire? The suit says so. Adrian laughed. Good eye. She shrugged. I'm a designer. My eyes are trained for it. The longer Adrian looked at her, the more the sense of familiarity intensified. But it couldn't be. Not her. Not after 15 years. You're looking at me like I just stole your car, Lena said. Adrian shook his head. Just thinking. About what? He looked at her, his gaze darkening. Destiny. She burst out laughing. Don't tell me you're one of those guys who believes in destiny. Adrian took a sip of his whiskey. No, he said. I believe in promises. Lena tilted her head. What kind of promise? Adrian glanced at the wallet on the table, though she couldn't see what was inside. He turned his eyes back to her. A promise from a very long time ago. Lena shrugged. Sounds romantic. Adrian didn't respond. Because in his head, there was only one question. A question that made everything inside him shake. Could it really be her? Chapter 3. A Fateful Night. If Adrian Knight was the type of person who believed in destiny, then tonight was probably its biggest joke yet. The girl who had saved him 15 years ago. The girl he had searched for his entire life. Standing right here in his hotel room. Drinking his whiskey, and having absolutely no idea who he was. Lena leaned back against the desk, whiskey glass in hand. All right, she said. You're looking at me like you're trying to solve a difficult math problem. Adrian took a sip of his drink. Maybe I am. I hope I'm not the hardest part. Adrian shrugged. You're the most interesting part. Lena burst out laughing. It was a natural laugh, unguarded, without calculation. Adrian realized something instantly. She was nothing like the women who usually occupied his world. No evening gowns. No ambitious glint in her eyes. No pre-rehearsed lines. She was just herself. So, Lena said, what do you do? Adrian looked at her. I work. Vague answer. What about you? Interior design. Hotels? Occasionally. Residential? Mostly. She shrugged. I do whatever pays the bills. Adrian gave a faint smile. I know the feeling. Really? Lena looked at his suit. You look like the kind of person money chases after. Adrian tilted his head. Perhaps. Lena took another sip of whiskey. Anyway, thanks for the drink. Don't mention it. She set the glass down and looked toward the door. I should probably go. Adrian said nothing. He just watched her. A part of him wanted her to leave because this was too strange, too dangerous. But another part wanted her to stay. You know what's funny? Lena asked. Adrian raised an eyebrow. What? I don't usually talk to strangers. But tonight, she looked around the room. I'm drinking whiskey in the hotel room of a man I don't even know. Adrian smiled. You can tell the story to your friends. Oh, no. Lena shook her head. They'll just think I'm stupid. Adrian tilted his head. Are you sure you're not? She looked at him, her gaze half defiant. Are you calling me stupid? Just asking. No, she said. I'm just tired. Adrian understood that feeling. A type of exhaustion that didn't come from the body, but from life itself. Bad day? He asked. Bad week, Lena corrected. Bad month. Adrian laughed. Sounds familiar. What about you? She asked. How was your day? Adrian thought for a few seconds. Expensive. Lena laughed loudly. That is the most billionaire answer I've ever heard. Adrian shrugged. You guessed right, then. Lena leaned in. So you really are a billionaire? It would seem so. Damn. She sighed. I just had whiskey with a billionaire. Adrian smiled slightly. Are you disappointed? No, she said. I just hope you're not the type who talks about stocks all night. No, Adrian said. I prefer talking about more interesting things. Like what? Adrian looked at her. Like destiny. Lena gave a soft groan. You're back to that again. You don't believe in it? No. Not at all? No, she said. Life isn't like the movies. Adrian stared at her. Are you sure? Lena shrugged. If fate existed, I wouldn't be working 3 jobs to pay my rent. Adrian smiled. That's a fairly convincing argument. A brief silence followed. It wasn't uncomfortable, just quiet. Adrian realized he didn't want to break it. You know, Lena said. I saved a boy once. Adrian stiffened. His heart hammered. Really? Yeah. She shrugged. It was a long time ago. What happened to him? Lena smiled faintly. I don't know. We only met once. Adrian fought to keep his voice steady. Where? In an alleyway, she said. It was pouring rain. Adrian felt as if the world around him had come to a standstill. Do you remember the boy's name? Lena thought for a few seconds, then shook her head. No, I just remember he looked so sad. Adrian looked down at his whiskey, hiding his eyes. You helped him. Just some bread and water. Sometimes, that's enough. Lena looked at him. You talk as if you know that boy. Adrian smiled softly. Maybe I do. Lena laughed. I hope he's doing okay. Adrian looked at her. An answer was right on the tip of his tongue. I'm right here. It's me. But he didn't say it. Not yet. Perhaps he kept his promise, Adrian said. What promise? Lena frowned. Did we have a promise? Adrian shrugged. Maybe. Lena smiled. Well, I hope he kept it then. A moment of silence passed. She checked her watch. Crap. It's almost 2 o'clock. Adrian stood up. You should sleep. Right, she said. In my own room. Good idea. Lena walked toward the door. Her hand touched the knob, then she stopped. She turned back. Adrian? Yeah? Thank you. For the whiskey? For not making me feel stupid for walking into the wrong room. Adrian smiled. You're still a little bit stupid. Lena laughed. Maybe. She opened the door, but then turned back one last time. Good night, billionaire. Adrian tilted his head. Good night, Lena. The door closed. The room fell silent again. Adrian stood there for a few minutes. Then, he opened his wallet and took out the bracelet. The light reflected off the small metal tag. He whispered, finally, I found you. But there was one thing he didn't know. Destiny wasn't finished with its games yet. Because the next morning, Lena Carter would disappear. Chapter 4. The girl WHO disappeared. Adrian Knight was not the type to panic. In his world, everything was systematic. Every problem had a solution. Every person could be found. All it took was the right tools, the right money, and the right timing. But that morning, when Adrian opened his eyes and realized Lena Carter was gone, he understood one thing. There are some things money cannot control. Morning sunlight streamed through the massive glass windows of the penthouse. The city below had already awakened. The hum of traffic, the distant blare of horns. But Adrian remained still in bed. One hand behind his head. Eyes fixed on the ceiling. Last night played on a loop in his mind. Lena's laughter. Those blue eyes. The way she spoke. Natural, unafraid of him. Not trying to impress or take anything. She was simply there. And then she left. Adrian sat up and looked toward the table. 2 whiskey glasses remained. One was his. One was hers. The chair where she had sat was empty. Adrian stood, walked to the door, and opened it. The hallway was silent. No trace. He closed the door and let out a breath. All right, he muttered. Let's start again. 30 minutes later, Claire stepped into the penthouse. Adrian's assistant rarely saw her boss call at 6 in the morning. That usually meant one of 2 things. 1. Something very bad had happened. 2. Something very interesting had happened. Claire looked at Adrian standing by the window. Hands in his pockets. Black shirt. Hair slightly disheveled. You called, sir? Adrian didn't turn around. There was a woman here last night. Claire arched an eyebrow. Really? Adrian rarely brought women back. She's gone. Claire shrugged. Usually, they are. Adrian turned, his gaze cold. She left without leaving a name. Claire paused. No name? Adrian walked to the desk, picked up his wallet, and opened it. The bracelet. Claire saw it and understood immediately. It was her. Adrian nodded. Lena. Claire was silent for a few seconds before asking, "Are you sure?" "No," Adrian said, "but I'm almost certain." Claire set her tablet on the desk. "Then we find her." Adrian looked at her. "I want to know who she is." Claire gave a small smile. "You are Adrian Knight. We have an entire data analysis team. We can find a person within the hour." Adrian shook his head. "No." Claire frowned. "No. Don't make a scene," Adrian said. "I don't want her to think I'm stalking her." Claire sighed. "So where do we start?" Adrian thought for a moment. The hotel. The lobby level of the Aurelia Hotel. The manager nearly fell off his chair when he saw Adrian Knight walk in. "Mr. Knight!" He stood up instantly. "What an honor to—" Last night, Adrian cut him off. "A woman." The manager blinked. "Sir? She entered my room. Likely a mistake." The manager nodded rapidly. "We will check the records immediately." Claire stood by, arms crossed. 10 minutes later, the manager returned with a tablet. "We've checked the hallway cameras." Adrian looked at the screen. The footage played. 45th floor hallway. 1:17 a.m. A blonde girl stepped out of the elevator. Light coat, high heels in her hand. Claire chuckled softly. Looks like she'd been drinking. Adrian didn't smile. He watched the screen. The girl went to room 4511. Opened the door, disappeared inside. 3 hours later, 4:08 a.m. The door opened. Lena stepped out, hair messy, coat draped over her shoulders. She paused, looked around, then left. Adrian said, "Zoom in." The camera zoomed. Lena's face became clearer. Claire turned to Adrian. "That's her." Adrian said nothing. He just watched. An old memory. An alleyway. A young girl. And now, she was standing on the screen in front of him. "Where did she go?" Adrian asked. The manager flipped to another camera. Lena entered the elevator, then appeared in the lobby. She walked straight out the door without looking back. Claire frowned. No taxi. No private car. Adrian watched the screen. She walked. Claire looked at him. "We can track the street cameras." Adrian nodded. "Do it." The hotel manager looked at them, slightly confused. "Sir, did she cause any trouble?" Adrian looked at him. "No," he said. "She's just important." An hour later, Claire returned with her laptop. "We have her." Adrian turned around. She left the hotel, walked 3 blocks, then took a taxi. To where? Claire swiveled the laptop. An office building. An interior design firm. Adrian read the sign. Carter Design Studio. Claire looked at him. Carter. Adrian felt his heart hammer. Claire smiled. It seems destiny is trying to say something. Adrian didn't answer. He just stared at the building on the screen and spoke in a very low voice. "Finally, I found you." Chapter 5. Finding her. Adrian Knight was not the type to let fate decide everything. He believed in 2 things: power and control. Empire builders like him didn't sit around waiting for opportunities. They created them. So, when Adrian saw the name Carter Design Studio on Claire's laptop screen, he spoke only 2 words. Find her. The 80th floor boardroom was silent to the point of tension. Claire stood at the head of the table. 3 others sat opposite her, the data analysis team of Knight Corporation. These were people who could find anyone on the planet if Adrian requested it. Claire crossed her arms. "All right," she said. "We have a new mission." One of the specialists raised an eyebrow. "A client?" Claire shook her head. "Personal." The 3 of them exchanged glances. That rarely happened. Adrian Knight almost never used company resources for private matters. Claire cast an image onto the screen. Lena Carter, a still from the hotel security footage. "This girl," she said. "Mr. Knight wants her found." A data specialist tapped a few keys. "Do we have a name?" Claire nodded. "Lena Carter." The screen flickered, and hundreds of results appeared. "Carter is a common surname," one man noted. "We need more data points." Claire provided the specifics. Interior design. Small firm. Operating in the city center. The specialist typed rapidly. 10 seconds later, a profile appeared. Lena Carter, founder, lead designer. Claire smiled. "We have her." At the same time, on the other side of the city, Lena Carter was having a miserable morning. She stood in her small office, a bright room, but cluttered. Drawings. Material samples. A laptop open on the desk. She was on the phone. "No," she said. "I've already told you. We cannot finish the entire hotel design in 2 weeks. A pause. Then Lena rolled her eyes. I don't care how much you're paying. We need at least 6 weeks. A few more seconds of silence, then Lena sighed. Fine, I'll look it over again. She hung up and tossed the phone onto the desk. Crazy, she muttered. Her assistant, Maya, looked up from her laptop. Client? Rich client, Lena corrected. Even worse. Maya laughed. At least they pay. Lena leaned back in her chair and rubbed her forehead. Last night replayed in her mind. The hotel, the whiskey, and the man in the room. Adrian. She shook her head. What's up? Maya asked. Nothing, Lena said. I just had a strange night. What kind of strange? Lena shrugged. I walked into the wrong hotel room. Maya burst out laughing. You did what? Drank whiskey with a stranger. Are you serious? Yeah. Maya leaned forward. Was he hot? Lena thought for a few seconds, then shrugged. A bit. Maya laughed even harder. Just a bit? All right, Lena admitted. Very. Meanwhile, on the 80th floor, Adrian was staring at the screen. Claire stood beside him. The profile is pretty straightforward, she said. 29 years old. Owner of a small interior design firm. No scandals. No major debts. Adrian looked at Lena's photo on the screen. She was smiling in a picture from her company website. It was a completely different smile from last night, lighter, brighter. Claire tilted her head. Are you certain she's the one you're looking for? Adrian didn't answer immediately. He opened his wallet, took out the bracelet, and placed it on the desk. Claire looked at it, then back at Lena's photo. You think she's the girl from the alleyway? Adrian gave a small nod. Could be. Claire folded her arms. What are you going to do? Adrian stood up and buttoned his suit jacket. Go see her. Claire gave a small, knowing smile. Mr. Knight, you're a billionaire. You don't need to do this yourself. Adrian looked at her. This isn't business. Claire shrugged. Fair enough. She asked her next question. How do you want to meet her? Adrian looked out the window at the city sprawling below. She's a designer, he said. We have a hotel. Claire understood instantly. A smirk played on her lips. You're hiring her. Adrian turned back, his gaze cold. No, he said. I'm creating an opportunity. Claire chuckled. Destiny? Adrian picked up the bracelet and put it back in his wallet. No, he said. I don't believe in destiny. Claire raised an eyebrow. Then what is this? Adrian walked toward the door, his voice low. This is a promise. 2 hours later. Carter Design's studio office. Lena was reviewing blueprints when Maya walked in, eyes wide. Lena, something's happening. New client? Maya swallowed hard. Someone wants to see you. Who? Maya stared at her. Adrian Knight. Lena blinked. That billionaire? Maya nodded. The one and only. Lena leaned back in her chair and gave a soft, dry laugh. Well, she said, life is officially weird. Maya frowned. Why? Lena shrugged. No reason. But in her head, only one thought remained. It couldn't be. It couldn't be the same Adrian.
If you enjoy romance audiobooks like this, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss the next part of the story.